Tommy Clark had always been a simple man. He didn't have much, nothing fancy or extravagant to show for his 42 years of hard work. His life had always been a string of unremarkable days, filled with greasy overalls, the hum of engines, and the clink of tools in the back of his small, cluttered mechanic shop. In a town like Ridgefield where everyone knew everyone else, Tommy was just another face in the crowd. Nothing special, just a guy who kept the cars running. He didn't mind it, not really. His job as a mechanic wasn't glamorous, but it kept him fed. Rent was always paid, and he had enough to buy a cold beer at the local bar on a Friday night. The women in town, though friendly, rarely gave him a second glance. His jeans were worn thin at the knees, his t-shirts were faded from years of hard labor, and his hands were thick with calluses. The kind of hands that told stories of toil but never of wealth or grandeur. That all changed the day a black sports car rolled into his garage. A sleek machine with curves so sharp it looked like it was built for a racetrack. The car's exterior was a deep, glossy shade of midnight blue, the kind of car that would turn heads in any city. And yet here it was sitting in Tommy's shop. The owner, a man he didn't recognize, handed him the keys with a grimace. "I need you to fix the engine," the man said in a voice that matched the car, cold, controlled, and polished. Tommy didn't think much of it at first. He had fixed 1,000 engines before, some more complicated than others, but nothing that would make him lose sleep. But this one was different. As he worked on the car, Tommy noticed something strange wedged between the leather seat and the console. An old, worn leather pouch, almost hidden in the shadows. Curious, he pulled it out, his fingers brushing against its rough surface. Inside, wrapped in a piece of velvet cloth, was a small, glittering object. It was a diamond, no, not just any diamond. Tommy wasn't a jeweler, but even he knew the value of this stone. It wasn't just rare. It was priceless. The man who owned the car never came back to pick it up. Days passed, and Tommy, driven by a strange mix of excitement and caution, kept the diamond hidden away in the back of his toolbox. It didn't feel right to keep something so valuable, but what was he supposed to do? Report it? He wasn't exactly the kind of guy who dealt with police or high-end jewelry shops. The idea of returning it to the man who had left without a word felt like a stretch, too. The more he thought about it, the more the diamond felt like it had landed in his lap for a reason. Perhaps fate had a way of smiling on those who worked hard enough to deserve it. And so, he kept it just for a while. He would sell it maybe. Buy himself something nice. Maybe get a house with a yard. Finally, a life that wasn't so small. A few weeks passed before Tommy finally decided to take the plunge. He made an appointment at a local auction house, a place where the rich and famous of the area were known to sell their prized possessions. As he walked in, the polished marble floors and gleaming chandeliers made him feel out of place. He was just a mechanic after all, and he felt the weight of that identity pressing on his shoulders. But the staff at the auction house didn't look at him like he was just another small-town man. No, they saw something different in him now. Tommy wasn't invisible. He was holding a key to something bigger than he had ever dreamed. The auction house called in an expert to examine the diamond. They placed it under a microscope, turned it under the light, and after a long moment of silence, the expert nodded, eyes wide with disbelief. "This," the expert said, his voice shaking slightly, "is worth millions." Tommy's heart skipped a beat. He was numb, staring at the diamond in his hand. Millions? How was this possible? This simple stone, this small thing, could change everything. But before he could digest what was happening, the auction house was already offering him a deal. They would handle the sale, take a commission of course, but they promised him a fortune in return. Within days the word had spread. The mechanic who'd found the rare diamond. The man who had stumbled upon a fortune. Tommy Clark, from Ridgefield, was suddenly a name whispered among the wealthy and powerful. It didn't take long for the calls to start coming. First, it was just curiosity, people wanting to meet him, shake his hand, hear the story. But as the days passed, the attention grew more personal. He started getting invitations, lunches, dinners, even private vacations. Women who would have never spared him a second glance were suddenly knocking on his door. They were beautiful, polished, and confident, their eyes sparkling with interest, but Tommy couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. A woman named Evelyn was the first to invite him out. Her perfume was sweet, her smile intoxicating. She was everything Tommy wasn't. Glamorous, sophisticated, the kind of woman who seemed to glide rather than walk. She told him she'd read about him in the papers and thought they should get to know each other better. The dinner was fancy, the wine flowed freely, and Evelyn's laughter was like music to his ears. But there was something hollow about it all. As the night wore on, Tommy realized that Evelyn wasn't interested in him. Not really. She was interested in the diamond. In the money. She asked him questions that seemed casual at first but quickly turned into probing ones about his newfound wealth, his plans, his dreams. She was trying to figure out what kind of man he was, what he could give her, what he could offer that would make her life more exciting, more lavish. Tommy felt the weight of her gaze, and for the first time in his life he questioned what he had become. Was this who he was now? The man with money? The man with a story? And if so, what did that say about him? Did he have any worth beyond what people thought he could buy? As the weeks went on, more women appeared, each offering something new. A private jet ride to an island in the Caribbean. An exclusive dinner at a 5-star restaurant. Lavish gifts, watches, clothes, even cars. They were all so kind, so interested in him, so eager to shower him with attention. But behind their smiles, Tommy could see the truth. They weren't after him. They were after what he had, what he could provide, what they could take from him. It wasn't just the women either. The men who had once ignored him were now calling him up, inviting him to golf outings, private events, business meetings. They wanted to be seen with Tommy Clark, the man who had struck it rich, the man who had the world at his feet. But Tommy couldn't shake the loneliness that gnawed at him. All these people, all these invitations, all these luxury vacations, they were all just distractions. Distractions from the empty space he felt inside. Tommy began to wonder if anyone truly had ever cared about him at all. What had his life been before the diamond? Mechanic just scraping by. But now he was a spectacle. A source of envy. A man who had stumbled into fortune, but who had never truly been seen for who he was. One night, as he sat alone in his newly acquired mansion, staring at the walls that seemed too large for him, Tommy realized something. The wealth, the fame, the women, they couldn't fill the hole inside him. They couldn't make him feel whole. And as the phone rang yet again with another offer for a vacation, another invitation to a gala, Tommy knew that he couldn't keep pretending. He couldn't keep playing the role of the man everyone wanted him to be. The next morning, Tommy made a decision. He would sell the mansion. He would walk away from the life that had been thrust upon him. He wasn't the man that money made him. He wasn't the man the world wanted him to be. He was just Tommy, a simple mechanic from a small town, a man who wanted to live quietly without the weight of expectation bearing down on him. As he left behind the world that had momentarily embraced him, Tommy realized that the diamond, like wealth itself, had been an illusion. It had changed everything, but in the end, it hadn't changed him at all. He was still the same man he had always been, and that was enough. And so, Tommy Clark returned to Ridgefield, back to his garage, back to his tools, and the simple life he had known before the world ever took notice of him. The fame, the wealth, the women, they were all gone just as quickly as they had come. But Tommy wasn't lonely anymore. Because for the first time in his life he had found peace. Peace in knowing that his worth wasn't measured by the things he owned, but by the person he had always been.